It's been a couple of days, but a quick wrap-up of the aftermath of The Voice. Sunday Telegraph the day after Albo pledges unity after more than a year of division based on race. So the editor at Sunday Telegraph seems to think he knows what went wrong. So apparently it was Albo's mistakes, and not that Australia saw through what a load of BS the entire $400 million shit show was. Now, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Wonga's right. We need to heal from the ill feeling spread non-stop by corporations, the media, and sellout politicians. Jeez, it was terrible, wasn't it? So on the one hand, throughout the paper, there are all those articles that we all need to come together, unite, and heal. These media hacks, they can't help themselves. Their feeling of superiority. It was the battlers' fault. It turned us into New South Wales. The uneducated, unwashed masses west of Balmain made us New South Wales. I reckon that's fantastic. For the point of this story was just to, let all their neighbours that they live alongside, we're still better than them. Now what though, if there were actual tears, if they had have put them into bottles, they could have sold them. How many people would love to have drunk them? And the same way with The Voice. You should see, I saw this ABC video where they were actually out there talking to people who voted no, as though they weren't rabid racists, as though they had a valid point of view. So the ABC, they've got to be careful, because they'll become very irrelevant very quickly if they keep going hard left. So now that the no's come out, they're switched back again to try and make out like they're still relevant. But they're doing it with COVID, rewriting history, which is very relevant given this COVID inquiry supposedly is going to be kicking off pretty soon. But people might not remember, it's been a while, I did a video on this. Australia called for a COVID-19 probe. China responded with a trade war. Because at the time, building this virus up to be something that it wasn't, it was undetectable outside of normal cold and flu viruses. But that's not what the hysterical media, the WHO and politicians were saying. So there were calls to, find out where this made-up, fictitious story of a virus came from. Now, I made a video on this, and the whole reason Scott Morrison read out his script that he was given, he wakes up in the morning, right, here's what you're doing for today, now go and read this. Because about 3 or 4 months earlier, back in January, US and China had already agreed on $32 billion in agriculture to be imported by China from America. So therefore, Morrison read that out, and that gave them the excuse to dump ours and honour this deal. Because their anger at what Morrison said didn't cause them to put tariffs on iron ore or anything else where they hadn't secured the commodities from the US. Now, I was listening to them squawk back this morning. I don't do it very often. And you know what? Every time I listen to it, I can make a video on all the bullshit that they're doing. And this was a BS they had going this morning. Peter Switzer talking about how China are now going to be lifting those tariffs that they had on Australian agricultural products. This is where he rewrites history, where he gives a very broad overview as to the reasons why, and he doesn't mention one particular aspect.
China's top diplomat in Australia says wine tariffs could be cleared within weeks. They have crippled the $1.2 billion worth of annual exports. And someone who loves a good drop of wine, Peter Switzer from switzer.com.au. G'day, Switz.
You always like to have a win-win situation, and this looks like a win-win situation. That tariff was 220%. I call that a wine-crushing anti-dumping tariff on Australian producers. And this follows the reduction of the 80% tariff on Australian barley. We've got to remember, how did all this trade problem start in the first place? It was because Donald Trump basically took on China, and then he got Scott Morrison to back him because they were trade allies.
Now, his first deception is that we were trade allies, when in actual fact Trump was cutting us out of a deal with China. In his defence, though, he was always pro-American. He never said he was anything else. And his second deception in rewriting history is he doesn't mention that it had anything to do with COVID. Just Trump, which he was partly right, but gets it wrong when he says we were trade allies.
Albo will have a bit of a problem if Donald Trump becomes president again, because he will also expect Australia to start picking on China. So it's a very interesting development.
And Switz, that's what Ben Fordham calls him, Switz, he actually brings it home with a bit of truth. If Trump gets back in, he will be cutting deals that are going to affect us adversely. But of course, it's all out of context. So now the Voice is over, we're all done with that. I'm going to start focusing on this COVID inquiry because they're called for public submissions, and I'll be making plenty of submissions, and it's going to be along the lines of I'm going to categorise it into COVID intervention measures and all the damage that was done, and be putting that in public submissions, of course, as well as making videos on all those submissions. And a lot of my submissions are going to contain the facts that there was never a virus above cold and flu. So the entire thing was unjustified. So I'll see if I can get that across the line with this inquiry. So yeah, all right, that's it for this one.